And welcome back to another episode of Tidal Flooding Talk, brought to you by the New Jersey Coastal Coalition in conjunction with our broadcast partners at Tri-X 57. Summer is rolling on here, and we have a lot to talk about today. We actually have a very interesting guest for today. We're talking about the art of sea level rise. We'll get to that in just a minute. For now, I'll kick it on over to Dan. Dan, your favorite season's just a few weeks away, fall around the corner, maybe a little extra happiness, at the darkness at the end of the tunnel as those days get shorter.
Well, once you can see Labor Day, coming up, a little on the horizon. Yeah, you kind of know you're past the hottest stretch of summer. So some people just hate the flip to August, because you're in the home stretch of summer and fall is imminent, let's say. Other people like this time of year. It's still plenty summerful, but you get the less heat, the less humidity.
Yeah. Palma, what's going on with you? How's everything?
Everything's great. I just turned 30 in July, so
all right, happy birthday.
Have fun.
What'd you do for
it's all downhill from here, so
oh. Dan, you got any words on that one?
I don't, because I got a pretty big milestone birthday coming up next year, and let's just say 30 is way in the rearview mirror.
Gotcha. Palma, what'd you do for your 30th birthday?
We went to well, first I got a massage. I took a half day at work and got a massage, and then also we went to Stephen Cookies for dinner, which is always delicious and a good time. So
and for maybe the uninitiated, could you explain Stephen Cookies to everybody?
Sure, of course. Yeah, it's a fine dining in Margate, New Jersey, and it is delicious. You'll never have a bad meal there. We usually get our oysters and a couple of drinks, and I get the pork for dinner. But
perfect. Dan, what did you do for your 30th birthday? Which I know was last year.
Our first date was at Stephen Cookies. 30th, we had a surprise birthday party, went to Chef Vola's, and then the Irish pub, ironically.
Oh, so you went from Italian to Irish in one night.
Right.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Very good. We won't discuss the age of our next guest, although he looks plenty youthful. I have more gray hair than he does here. We have Andrea Limauro. I hope I said that right. He is a artist in residence at Georgetown University's Earth Commons Institute. He is actually live on location with us just outside there in the Georgetown section of Washington, D.C., next to the Swedish Embassy, because, Andrea, you've been commissioned to paint a few murals, I'll say, during the course of the year called The Climate of Futures Past. And you're standing right now in front of one of those murals. I'll say, ciao, Andrea. Welcome to the show. How's it going today?
Oh, Joe. Great. Low muggy back here, but we're in Georgetown, so in end of July. So I think it's pretty normal. But so thank you for having me. Basically, here is the first of 4 artworks that I was commissioned to do by the Washington Post about climate change impacts in Washington, D.C. And this one is probably your favorite one, because this one has to do with flood risk. So basically, the Washington Post asked me to do 4 murals, and my response to that commission was to create 4 artworks that are very site-specific and are in 4 of the locations most at risk for the biggest climate risk of that season. So this is the first one. So it's the spring artwork, and it's called The River and the Town. And in Washington, D.C., our main climate risk during the spring is riverine flooding, and the river is right here. So this is the Potomac River. It's one of our 2 major rivers here in Washington, D.C. And as you can see, the artwork is purposely very close to the river in the floodplain. Because so each artwork is in each one of the more at-risk communities in the city, but also the artwork needs to speak to that. So usually each artwork is in the location most at risk, close to the factor of risk. In this case, it's the floodplain and the river. And then also suggest some solutions. So in this case, for instance, the artwork is elevated, which is one of the first and most simple solutions when building in a floodplain. So it's slightly elevated, but still at risk, as are all the buildings that you see here. And so the artwork is really about that. It's about depicting this vast floodplain, the Potomac River floodplain, and all the communities along the floodplain. So as you start looking at the mural, kind of starts here as, and I painted the mural as if it was a mirror. So what you see in front of you is what is behind you. So in your case, this is Key Bridge. And so in front of me is Key Bridge down there. So it's kind of a reflective mirror, and it mirrors back at the viewer flood conditions of the past, present, and future. So the mural includes a lot of data. For instance, here there's some of the highest floods recorded at Key Bridge. So, for instance, the highest flood was in 1884 and reached 19.5 feet. So, part of what the mural does, it also shares information and science with residents. And I painted this live, so it took me 200 hours to paint it. So, it was also a way to engage residents in a conversation about flood risk. So, as you move along the mural, just give you another example, and I should say, for instance, here as you go along the mural, here is Georgetown University, which is which is the mural sponsor, and that's also the location of my art residency, like you mentioned. So as you go along the mural and along the floodplain, for instance, this is this very large building here. Right in front of me is the same building here on the mural. And this is Washington Harbor, which was one of the first buildings to be developed over the industrial floodplain of Georgetown. And this building keeps on flooding and is equipped with floodgates, which you can't see because you're a little bit too far, but there's a system of floodgates that gets operated 4 to 5 times on average a year, which, if you ask me, that's a lot for any building. And the fact that it was developed to kind of purposely flood is a little bit wild to me. But anyway, so as you go along the mural, for instance, here is the Swedish Embassy building, which is right behind me here, which is elevated. As you can see, there's a low hill. So the building itself is on a hill, but it did flood back. Actually, it flooded a couple of weeks before it was inaugurated, because the building was actually was refurbished by the Swedish government, and before the Queen came to inaugurate it, it flooded. This was like 15 years ago. So now the building is equipped with floodgates all around it, which are depicted on the mural.
Wow. So you gave us the full tour there. That was, I mean, really incredible. And 200 hours to do it. And you still got another 3 to go. We're going to take a break here, Andrea. We're going to take our first commercial break. We'll come right back with more Tidal Flooding Talk, more from Andrea in just a minute. Thanks to the New Jersey Coastal Coalition, your flood insurance bills are lower and your streets safer from the reality of flooding. Since beginning in 2013, we build more resilient shoreline communities. Our member towns develop and share in best practices that anticipate future concerns and create flooding solutions. From our town-specific free web app for flooding information to our weekly Tidal Flooding Talk show, we focus on flooding 24/7. Visit www.njcoastalcoalition.com for more.
Well, welcome back to this week's Tidal Flooding Talk, along with co-hosts Joe Martucci and Palma Shiles. I'm meteorologist Dan Skeldon, and interesting talk on location, guys. I think it's our first on location interview. Is that correct? Pretty cool with Andrea Lemiro.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to say yes.
Andre, I have a question for you. I was wondering, first of all, the 200 hours we were talking off camera. That's pretty intense. That's a huge time commitment to create one, and I know more are in development. First question is, how is that 200 hours like broken up? Do you kind of like go for 8, 10, 12 hours straight if you're motivated and kind of inspired, or is it kind of chip away here or there? And
Oh,
the question was your inspiration for this.
um, so the first, yeah, the answer to the first question is when I come out and start painting, I usually try to paint for at least 9 or 10 hours, if not more, because it takes a while to just set up and get all your stuff out and get your mentally ready for it. So once I get started, I get in the zone and then I forget to even have lunch and everything. So it becomes you have to be very I have to say in shape. It's a lot. It's physically quite demanding. I mean, for this mural, I didn't have a bathroom, for instance, and there's no cover. So while I was painting this, I had a few times I had gloves on, a couple of times I was in a t-shirt because I painted this in March. And March in DC is crazy. You can have one day of 90 degrees and you can have days where it's really cold. And I kind of had every type of weather out here. So yeah, it's quite the physical experience. Oh, and then the inspiration. Well, I really wanted to do this. I don't know. Over time, I just created this idea of this mirror and the floodplain. I did many studies over the years of this concept, and I've been trying to kind of sell this concept around for a little bit. When the Washington Post gave me this commission, it seemed to be the perfect opportunity to try to make this ring concept a reality, because I had the backing of the Washington Post, so it was easier than to go to Georgetown University and pitch this artwork, which they ultimately funded. It's been an idea of mine for many years, actually, I would say. I never imagined that to build it this big, but kind of ended up because I created it over this platform that already existed. So the size of it was kind of constrained by the space I wanted to build it on.
And I know Palma, our building guru, will be
Oh,
very
yeah.
happy that it's elevated, right, Palma?
Yes.
Definitely. But I think also, like, obviously artists have to have passion for their work, right? Or else I guess the art wouldn't be so great. But what made, climate change and coastal issues resonate with you as an artist?
Yeah. Thank you. Well, so I've always been interested in the environment and climate, but aside from my lifelong interest in these topics, I do work. I have my day job. I am a flood resilience planner for the District of Columbia. So I'm a local flood planner. So I pretty much spend all day looking at floodplain maps and buildings in floodplains. So I think this idea of creating this artwork definitely has come from years of not so much frustration, but just years of getting all this information in my mind that to me it's all strung up together in a linear, thoughtful way, but it's not in the eyes of everybody else. And I wanted to find a way to visualize it for everybody. So if you went around the whole ring, you would realize that essentially the entire city is protected by a network of a totally informal network of local, federal, and privately built infrastructure, whether it's flood walls or levee systems or underground pipe systems, but they all work together in concert to protect people and the city. And In my mind, this makes a lot of sense, especially once you map them all out. And essentially what this artwork is a map of that and a lot of other stories. But I think because of my day job as a flood resilience planner here in the district, looking at these things on a daily basis, I kind of, and being an artist at the same time, kind of felt like the perfect combination.
Andrea, so you have a you have a full-time job and you're painting this. I just want to know real quick, do you sleep every once in a while? How many days a week do you sleep?
Days, hours. No, yeah, I mean, I'm fairly busy. But it's all good stuff. It's stuff I love. So
Yeah.
you know, when you do what you love, you find the time for it.
Sure. So, just about you, right? You were born in Italy. You were born in Rome. My mom was also
Yes.
born in Rome as well.
Oh, cool.
You came here, I believe, in 2003. I don't know how often you get back to the homeland, back to Italy, but could you kind of compare and contrast the attitudes of, the general public between Italy and the United States when it does come to coastal flooding or sea level rise?
Well, I was just there 3 weeks ago. I came back, so I was there very recently. I think in Italy, there's a lot of recent experience with flooding, especially from rain events. So interior flooding and affects Italian cities in in a different way because Italian cities are much more dense than American cities, are more built out. So you get this kind of urban rivers that start flooding through cities. But what you'll see is a big difference that I noticed through the years is obviously building codes. When you see disasters in the US and you see just the last few ones, what you see is you see buildings, they're just uprooted from foundations, if they have any foundations, and they just, they float down the river together with these storms. And in Europe, that's a lot harder to see because of building codes and the fact that most of our buildings are anchored. And so, you might see cities that have buildings that are 1,000 years old and they're still stand up after a major urban flood. So I think one of the things that we will see more, that people will be forced into talking more in the US, which I think people will hate, is stronger building codes in floodplains, but also hurricane areas, prone areas, and tornado prone areas, because in a space of no federal insurance and no private insurance companies wanting to cover people for these disasters, I think building codes are going to be one of the few solutions that we have. And fortunately, culturally, people in the US are much more resistant to building codes. So the fact that in Italy and in Europe in general, people are more receptive to climate science makes those conversations about stronger and more stringent codes easier there. So I don't know. That's a lot that I threw out there.
Definitely, that is
you can
a lot.
see I work on these things, so this is what's on my mind on a daily basis.
No, and that's what we do here at the New Jersey Coastal Coalition, keeping all of our member towns, together to share on coastal flooding resiliency and common sense flood solutions. And listen, whether whatever happens, Mother Nature's deciding if you're going to flood. It's not we can prevent it, but Mother Nature will always be there to try to flood. So we're going to take one more break. We'll be right back with you here on our Tidal Flooding Talk with Andrea in Washington, D.C.
We
Hello and welcome back. You're watching Tidal Flooding Talk. We were just touching on a little bit of building code, so I thought I'd start by saying that the New Jersey Coastal Coalition would like to remind our viewers to build responsibly. A well-planned build can save you money and protect your home. Building just 1 foot above the minimum elevation requirement can lower insurance costs and reduce flood damage. And don't forget to elevate mechanical equipment like air conditioners and generators. Small changes can make a big difference.
Andrea, I want to ask you, I noticed earlier in the video when you were showing us your mural, you could see residents of DC or tourists or people, in this case, they were kids, going up, touching it, interacting with it. And I know you said one of the goals earlier was, to get people talking about it. Do you find that this beautiful mural behind you is doing that? Do people reach out to you, or when you were working on it or visiting it, did it spark conversation? Did it raise awareness? Did it achieve that goal?
Yes, absolutely. Painting it on site was definitely a very good tool for engagement, because people really, they want to engage with the artists when they see them working, and they want to know more about it. And that was purposeful. I wanted that to be the easy icebreaker to then have a conversation about climate. And then the other part is that what I also did is I didn't want to talk only about the future, because that's kind of contentious, unfortunately, but also about the past, and how some of these flood conditions of the past that have flooded some of these buildings around the artwork would still flood today. Or, like Palma was saying about inviting people to build responsibly. This building across from me here was built in the 80s, and they have to use their flood walls 4 or 5 times a year to protect it, which is crazy when you think about the fact that they already knew that this was a floodplain, and they built the building to have a common area that was below the river level. And now they have to use these floodgates 4 or 5 times a year. So I'm sure their insurance costs are insane. And they elevated the building in the first place. It will definitely solve a lot of their issues today.
Andrea, tell us about the other work that you do. I know, the Climate of Future Past is not the only things you've done in terms of paintings. What are some other paintings that you've done even outside of the sea level rise, and again, the Climate of Future Past?
Well, some of my other paintings are quite political, so these are my least political works. But I have 2 other works that I have to deliver for the Washington Post for the Climate of Future Past that I'm still working on. One, I'm still looking for the actual wall, and I have to deliver it in the fall. So I'm kind of in the middle of looking for walls. And this one is also about flood risk, but it's about storm surge, because in the fall, our main climate risk is storms at sea. They get up the Potomac River and the Chesapeake Bay and the Potomac River and flood our city. So that's the next mural. So if you know any developers in Washington D.C. that need a mural, let me know. But and then the last work, the winter one, should be at the Hirshhorn Smithsonian Museum here on the National Mall. So that'll be a big work.
Excellent. Wow. All right. Well, we're gonna, great conversation. We appreciate you coming out and showing us the painting. That really gives everyone a good visual idea of what you're doing. Just tell everybody again where they could find, if they were in DC, where could they find that again? Let everybody know.
Okay, Georgetown waterfront, and you walk all the way down. It's a pedestrian walkway, and you can take it all the way down to the Swedish Embassy. And the artwork is right across the Swedish Embassy. You can catch it until October, and in October, I will move it permanently on Georgetown University's campus. So after October, you'll find it on Georgetown University's campus. I'm not sure
Excellent.
where yet.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank
We
you,
might have
Andrea. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Palma. Sorry.
Might have to have a Tidal Flooding Talk road trip pretty soon, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Maybe you should come and see the other artwork. Maybe the one about storm surge that I haven't created yet.
Well, when we get to our one thing we can't stop talking about, maybe I will be there. But I'm going to let Dan go first. Dan, what is the one thing on your mind, tidal flooding or otherwise?
Well, I always do. Lately, I've done a weather one thing I can't stop talking about. I'm gonna venture off to sports. I am going to a Patriots preseason football game the Friday after this is being taped, and I can't stop talking about the improvement I'm going to expect from my team this year. And fingers crossed, maybe that might be wish casting, but hoping it's a lot better than last year.
Yeah, you guys aren't used to this. Like what, 4 whole seasons of meteorography?
I know after like 2 decades of dominance, yeah, the 4
Man.
seasons have been tough.
For you, Dan. For you. Palma, you're up.
Let's see. Well, first, I think that our guest is one of the first people that pronounced my name correctly the first time around, but I guess it's because it's an Italian name, so. But besides that, I think that now I'm thinking about going back to DC because I do like it's one of my favorite cities, so I may have visit there again soon.
I agree.
You guys should come down as a team.
We got to talk to our boss about that. Maybe we can see if Tom Quirk can make it happen for us. Come on down. So I am also a big fan of Washington, D.C. Kind of reminds me of like a mini New York, like New York City without all the skyscrapers. Like I love the vibe. I love the architecture. I love just kind of being in the mix of it all with the country. But the one thing I can't stop talking about goes back to sports. So I am a Washington Capitals fan. Nicholas Backstrom, who has been playing with the Capitals since like 2004 with Alex Ovechkin, is returning back to hockey after a year away, but in his native Sweden, meaning he has left and retired from the NHL. He's 37. So I got to get back to the, Capital One Arena. I keep calling it the MCI Center. It's not the MCI Center anymore.
Yeah,
but Capital One Arena, and check out the Backstrom-less Capitals. And maybe this will be our year, but I was very happy that they were first seed in the Eastern Conference last season.
Go Flyers.
Flyers got a few more years to go, but they're getting there. Anyway, Andrea, you're up. What's the one thing you can't stop thinking about? Coastal flooding or otherwise?
I think I'm bothering everybody, telling everybody how awesome my vacation was. I went to Italy and I also stopped for 5 days in Ireland. And instead of telling you how beautiful Italy is, because as I always talk about that,
We know that.
I was surprised how much I liked Ireland. I invite people to visit Ireland. Really, really beautiful island and beautiful people. Really loved it. Very green.
I was just in Ireland in July too. Maybe we were there at the same time, Andrea. I was there until July 11th.
I think I was there at that time. It was so beautiful.
We probably saw each other at the Cliffs of Moher.
Oh, I didn't go there, but I went to Dingle Peninsula.
I went to Dingle too. I was at Dingle too. Dingle,
well, it depends. Were you going the right way around the peninsula?
Yeah, so we went clockwise. Yeah, that's the right way to go.
Yeah. So did you like it?
I loved it. That was my favorite part of the trip.
Awesome. Same.
Yeah. Great. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for joining us on this week's Tidal Flooding Talk. We're going to have plenty more episodes for you. Remember, every Tuesday at 7 p.m., you can find new episodes. For Dan Skeldon, Palma Shiles, Andrea Limaro, and myself.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk with you again.